Hi, everyone. Empowering True Crime. Alex here. And I just wanted to share this article real quick from Business Insider India. It talks about the Titan submersible and how the people who found the wreckage, the ROVs, what was going on in that search and recovery effort. And I actually found out about it from this video from Depressed Ginger, who I've been following. He's actually put out some pretty good videos. And he mentions that article in his video, and I'll put a link in the comments. But also, one of the things I thought was interesting about this video, he says that the passengers or the mission specialists on the Titan submersible would have been asked to listen to music while they were going down to the Titanic because they were trying to save batteries, so there wasn't going to be a lot of light and visibility on the vessel itself. Anyway, so it says the head of the team that discovered the wreckage of the Titan sub said one ROV was lost in the search as it couldn't handle the depth. This is Ed Casano. It says that the head of the team that discovered the wreckage of the Titan submersible told a press conference that another ship's remotely operated vehicle, an ROV, was lost during the search as it was beyond their depth capability, adding that this showed the scope of the effort that went into the recovery. Ed Casano, the CEO of Pelagic Research Services, says the team was part of a fleet of ships involved in the rescue search, but that its ROV, Odysseus 6K, was identified as a primary asset to carry out the rescue. Pelagic ship was stationed around 250 feet away from the Deep Energy, a Bahamian flagged ship with 2 ROVs on board. And as you may recall, there was a lot of different ships that came to the recovery effort, or actually to the search and rescue effort. And lots of different ships had ROVs. And so Pelagic was the one that had the ROV that was credited with finding the Titan. And so in the case of Deep Energy, the Bahamian flagged ship with 2 ROVs on board, one was holding at its depth limit of 8,860 feet, while the other had been lost after attempting to send it to the seafloor. The debris was uncovered near the ship's wreckage, about 13,000 feet beneath the surface in the North Atlantic. We pushed some things, and everybody pushed some things on this response, which is interesting because the Titan also pushed some things, right? So they had ROVs that weren't really able to go down to that depth, but some of them were able to handle it and some of them didn't make it. He added that the initial preparations had been for a rescue operation, and he detailed how they planned to integrate a lifting line that Deep Energy with Odysseus's 6K's lifting capabilities. But he said it soon became clear that the passengers could not have survived the journey, adding that by 12 o'clock, sadly, a rescue turned into a recovery. And if you recall, they went really early on Thursday morning. And so within a few hours, they were able to find the debris field. Shortly after we arrived on the seafloor, we discovered the debris of the Titan submersible. Casano appeared to hold back tears at one point while discussing the operation. I have to apologize. We are still demobilizing. There's a lot of emotions. People are tired. Now, this article is dated July 2nd. So a lot has come out over the last week. Let's just click here on this press conference.
Welcome to East Aurora, our home base of operations for Pelagic Research Services. I'm Jeff Mahoney, Director of Information and Media Relations. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to provide you with some of the details about our part in the collective response of the Titan submersible tragedy, really, and the subsequent recovery. I want to introduce Edward Casano, the CEO of Pelagic Research Services, who with Jim Sloan,
throughout the entire evolution of this response, all of our teams, we focused our efforts to arrive on the site of Titanic, prepared to rescue Titan. I have to acknowledge our team here. Many of them are heading home. Many of them are still traveling. And we have team members here. I just want to point out Jesse Doran, who's our ROV manager, director of operations, and others, to give you a sense of the sequence. So it started June 18th, Sunday, the loss of the communications and tracking to Titan. About 17:45 local mean time, Eastern Daylight Time, we were contacted by OceanGate. I landed at JFK Airport at around 11 o'clock and was in conversation with their director of operations immediately, assessed the situation, and we were asked to activate our deep water remotely operated vehicle system, Odysseus 6K. We immediately began assembling a team sending some to St. John's immediately and sending others here to East Aurora. On June 19th, which is Monday, PRS began packing and mobilizing the Odysseus 6K ROV. Throughout the day, PRS staff arrived on site, and by late afternoon, PRS was at Buffalo Niagara International Airport, mobilized for deployment, where 2 U.S. Air Force C-17s were waiting for us. With the equipment staged at the airport, PRS awaited arrival of yet another C-17 with additional equipment required to not only load our kit at Buffalo, but to offload it at St. John's, Newfoundland International Airport. Tuesday, June 20th, 0400, we began loading to the 3 C-17s at the airport. We soon departed, arriving at St. John's, Newfoundland in the early afternoon. All 3 aircraft sequenced, all 3 aircraft organized in a manner to require the most efficient mobilization to the ship Horizon Arctic, which was waiting for us. The offload was immediate and focused. Awaiting us was a ship and a team and a community ready to engage us, to get us onto the ship and to get us underway. The last load, container ship, the truck arrived at the pier side, 2300 on June 20th. The ship was underway the next day, June 21st, at 0530. From the last truck arriving to us leaving the pier was about 5.5 to 6 hours. 70,000 pounds of equipment. Ship underway, site of Titanic, and the loss of, or the missing submersible at this point, of course, was Titan. I just want to emphasize the whole response team that we were going to integrate into was underway. There were at least 10 ships and aircraft active already on site. Odysseus 6K, as the 6,000-meter mobile ROV system, became the primary asset focused on rescue. Underway to the site, we finished the integration and activation of the vehicle and rigged it for rescue. Plain and simple, we're focused on rescue. We arrived on site less than 24 hours later. 0430 local mean time, the Horizon Arctic, integrated into the ongoing and multinational rescue effort. At that point, within an hour, 0530, our system was launched from the back deck and began to descend to the seafloor. Shortly after arriving on the seafloor, we discovered the debris of the Titan submersible. Of course, we continued to document the site, and by 12 o'clock, sadly, a rescue turned into a recovery. I have to apologize, we're still demobilizing. It's a lot of emotions. People are tired.
Wow. So this really gives some amazing perspective, because a lot of us were, not really that well informed based on just some limited information that the Coast Guard was giving us. It sounded like that they were dragging their feet to try to get the ROV over there until, the 96 hours of oxygen was up. But just listening to this Pelagic CEO speak, he was notified on the same afternoon, like in the early evening of the day that it was launched, that the Titan was launched. And it sounds like they were moving as quickly as possible. These are not small devices, right? If this was a small device that could easily just be flown over to the ship that was there by the Titanic, the Polar Prince, it would be one thing. But this really makes me, and it kind of opens my eyes to how really difficult this search process was, especially with the right equipment being these ROVs, and how difficult that is and challenging that was to mobilize. And so I think this is really good to give us additional context to what was going on in this search and rescue and then search and recovery effort. Because it sounds like based on his timeline he shared, it sounds like they were moving as quickly as they possibly could, considering all of the equipment and the mobilization that had to happen. So this is really interesting. I didn't know I was going to go covering this press conference, but I think it does give additional context, and it makes me better understand what's happening, and also the fact that what's entailed in this type of search and rescue makes me realize definitely how unsafe the Titan was, how they should have had an ROV available if they were going to make this type of a trip down to, or a voyage down, expedition down to the Titanic, that they should have had either another submersible available or an ROV on hand or something that could give a backup, something private, not having to employ the Coast Guard or other search and rescue, other military. And, it sounds like there were some private teams that were on there. I don't know enough about this other Bahamian team, but they lost, or the Bahamian ship, but they lost an ROV. How much money is that, right? So on top of the search efforts themselves, there were lost resources in the process of search and rescue and then search and recovery of the Titan. So really, sad overall, but really there are some learning lessons here, and I've covered those in some of my previous videos. But let's go ahead and just take a moment here for thoughts and prayers to the families of the victims, and of course the victims themselves. May they rest in peace. And also just tremendous gratitude for all those who were involved in the search and rescue, and then the search and recovery. And, like this person said, a lot of emotions were involved because you're talking about human life, and they wanted to try to rescue human life. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you join the empowering family. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, and look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments. With that, make sure to stay safe, stay thriving, always follow your intuition, and keep it empowering. Bye for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications. Thank you.